What's up, guys? Welcome. Oh, I just muted myself by accident. Sorry about that. But welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Sim Standard Podcast. And tonight, guys, we're actually going to have some guests on tonight. So I'm going to actually get their invites out. Smitty should be on as well, like always. And, hopefully we'll see if AzureEffect is able to make it tonight. But we're going to have some guests tonight, guys. I didn't get a chance to put this last guest in the actual description. Apologize for that. But we're going to have Sonny from, the Four Verts podcast. You guys may know him from. He's going to come on tonight. So, yeah, we should be able to have a good time, man. We're going to have Dez on, and we're going to have 205. Some of you guys know him as Stack 360, Alabama, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll have him on as well. And I see we got Smitty on here already. So what we'll basically do, guys, Smitty has already informed me, he's not feeling that well tonight. We're all human, guys, so, if you see Smitty, waning away, y'all should be able to understand that he may or may not be here for the whole time. But, of course, we'll be grateful and happy for this time that we do have Smitty. So like we always do, man, we're going to go around, give our quick thoughts on our individual teams. And while we're doing that, I'll go ahead and send out the invites. Like I said, 205 will be on. Dez will be a panelist tonight. And also Sonny from the Four Verts will be on as well. No Havo. And I'm going to let Smitty actually speak on that, when he wants to do that. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and get that cracking. So let me make sure Smitty is good to go. Smitty, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
All right, cool. Yeah, I can hear you. All right, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and send out these invites, but give us your thoughts, man, on how was your week, and definitely, man, what's going on with those Lions out there looking good?
Well, Lions. I mean, the Lions are balling. They doing their thing. I can't get mad at that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the game, but I did see the ticker. And Sim had tweeted me about a run, and I apologize for not having the camera up, dude. I just look, I'm just a bit out of it, but
of it, huh?
No camera tonight, But no, but I will say this, the Lions. I mean, that Abdullah run. The Sim told me, it was like that was a man's run right there, and I'm like, yes,
sir.
He gave that effort and he got it in there. But, one thing I will say, though, is if the Lions can get that kind of run production, at least close to 100 yards, even though, even though Stafford contributed to the 100, them getting over 100, still, balance, run attack, at least close to, if not a little bit over 100 yards, that opens up their passing game enough for the offense to really be able to execute. Defense is balling. Okay, and I something. This Madden. From what I saw online with the whole all Madden thing, I know we'll get into that, but I don't know if I'll be on for it or not. But I'm just saying this real quick. This is a point I made before as well. Players need to be able to make plays. It doesn't matter if their rating is high or not. They don't have to be 80 some odd overall to make plays. Who would have thought these Lion players that we got, these second and third string players, we lost Jared Davis. We didn't miss a beat. So should our backups be rated in the 80s as well? You see what I'm saying? To address the logical point of them executing and making plays. Now, obviously, the answer to that would be no, but the bottom line is you need to be able to execute. Players should be able to break on balls as they see them. They're NFL players. So you need to translate that in the game.
Mm-hmm.
They should, if you throw a bad pass, it doesn't matter if that DB is a 65 overall, whatever. He should be able to make a read on it. I'll bring up this example to make the point as well. Richard Sherman, when he was first introduced into Madden, what was he overall? Like, it was like a 56 or something like that. Extremely low rated. Well, how the heck he go from there to the top cornerback, one of the top cornerbacks in the NFL? See what I'm saying? You see him make plays. It's the ability to make plays. If you're able to make plays, just that the ones that are able to make plays well are the ones that get the top dollar. But having a squad of guys that can get the job done, that shows you. You need to showcase that ability of people making breaks on the ball, because guess what? The Lions don't have a great secondary, but they sure do look great because they play fast. You don't know why they say they play fast? Because they react extremely quick. So therefore, if they react that fast, then that 60 some odd overall player should be able to react. That 50 some odd overall player should be able to react, right? I mean, he has to be able to make the plays. And that's the whole point that I get. Like, you need to be able to execute accordingly. Okay. Like, that's my whole thing. It shouldn't just be so locked into the overall. If you got a 60 some odd overall player, I'm like, okay, well, what are his skill ratings? What are his traits? See, that's not being broken down. We're just saying, oh, well, this overall shouldn't be able to make a play. Why shouldn't they? Need to elaborate. Start giving information and insight as far as to why players can't make plays. You know what I'm saying? If they can't, tell us why. And then, matter of fact, show us why. Show everybody why. Like I look at Deuce Douglas. He went in and started putting up some posts and everything. And he basically showcased to you his vision of what CFM needs to be. He's shown you. He didn't just put up posts to say franchise needs to be better. No, he put the work in. Now, is everybody as artistically gifted? Probably not. There are some people that are, but still, you can articulate. John White got a Twitter account. Madden's got a general Twitter account. Let them know. Rex, Clint, all those guys, let them know. Say something. But elaborate. Give viable feedback. And I'm not saying people don't do it. I'm just saying that's what needs to be done a heck of a lot more often than just saying do better.
Right.
So now, even though I'm woozy and all that stuff or whatever, got to go on the camera for this here. All right.
Hang in there, Smitty. Don't fall out on me now.
All right. Now, look. I will say this real quick. Okay. So, I'll never understand why guys like him and others will type a script in the chat section but won't get on and speak. I don't understand that logic. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm not saying this is a diss. I'm just saying you'll type paragraphs after paragraphs after paragraphs, but you won't get on the line and speak. And you say that stuff about, me and Sim and all that and everything, and Azure and other people. And we're dropping the ball and we ain't doing this and we ain't doing that. Well, then come on the line and call it out. Don't run to a YouTube video. Don't run to the comment section of somebody else's YouTube video and say something about it. Come here. We make it open every single Thursday from Blog Talk till now. It's been an open door. None of y'all cats show up. And I'll make this example real fast. A few years ago, Sim went to E3. Remember, before he went to E3, he made a video about accepting donations, something along that line. Some people were so adamant. Oh, Sim got to apologize. He's got to step 2 and he's got to do all this stuff. And, he's got to apologize. He owes an explanation to the whole community. He's got to And I'm like, I reach out to those people. Yeah. And I reach out to those people specifically. And I say, get on. This is our phone number. We're on Thursday. No, you got to get on Skype and you got to do this and no, we on Thursday. Get on. Oh, but y'all gonna block me. Y'all ain't gonna let me speak. Blah, 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 blah. No, we let you speak. Unless you're going to come on the line with ignorance, ain't nobody going to tolerate that.
And it's public. So the listeners, like you guys, would be the judge. Because I'm sure if me and Smitty was on some BS, y'all would be like, oh, that's messed up how y'all muted old boy, or oh, that's messed up. That's why you do it public, because you keep everybody in line.
Yeah,
the public audience would keep us all in check. That's why you do it publicly.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but thing is, I said, come on through, speak your piece. And of course, no one shows up. Funny thing, and the irony of it all, this kid, 12, maybe 13-year-old kid at the time, Sackmaster, he's on Twitter, shout out to him. He would chat with VF and me and Bills and others, DJ and all that stuff on Skype from time to time and all that. And he calls into the show, surprisingly. It's not, I didn't tweet him or nothing like that. I didn't say, hey, you got to come through. He calls in, asks the questions. Hey, Sim, I need clarification. What was your intent by the video, blah, 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 blah. Sim told him, got his answers. It was over. 12, 13-year-old kid could do what an adult couldn't do. Adults, I got to have my people with me. It's got to be this scenario, and the sun's got to be shining just over the horizon, and it's got to be at this exact time. No, skip all that. Just come on, call in. We're here every Thursday. Get on the line, speak your piece, and that's it. You don't have to be in agreement with what we say. But at the same time, just speak up, man. Speak your mind, dude. It's an open invite. We're not here to block nobody off or nothing like that. Just come on and speak your piece. It's not that hard. Many people out here ain't got no problem coming on the line, speaking their piece, whether they like Madden, hate Madden, whatever. No issue at all whatsoever. So that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So that's all I'm going to say in that regard. I mean, Sim can say something if he wants, but if you coming through and you got all this stuff to say, get on and speak your piece. That's it, man. It's real simple. So, but go ahead, Sim, man. You got it, bro.
Yeah, I'll be quick, man, because as you guys can probably see, which I actually don't know what everybody else sees when we're talking. I mean, I know we can see everybody else here in the Hangout, but we already got two of the panelists. So I'll be very, very brief. Dez is here. We got Fort Verts, Sonny, whatever you guys want to call him. He's here tonight, man. We'll definitely appreciate him reaching out. And Stack, if you haven't gotten your invite already, I did send it out. So definitely come on with that. So, I'll get through this real quick and we'll get it rolling. I'll tell you guys what the topics are going to be, and then we'll just go down the line just like that. I'm going to actually skip the whole part about, talking about the team. I mean, hey, they won. I'm going to let Dez speak on that because Dez is a Ravens fan, and we're both probably are going to agree what the detriment was in terms of the Ravens. Y'all know I'm not a belligerent Steelers fan. I respect the Ravens brand of football. I can have dialogue with Ravens fans, and it was just crazy to see. I didn't expect that type of game, but I'm gonna let Dez speak on that, and then we'll keep it moving. But outside of that, yeah, guys, you all saw it last week. Y'all saw it in the chat. We told Havo, listen, come on. What Smitty basically what he didn't say was, and I'm not gonna go into all the detail, but we ended up getting a message. Well, Smitty got a message on Tuesday saying, hey, no, let's do it this way. Y'all heard it last week. Come on live. When nobody can run and hide, no one can bully nobody, because you guys, the public, would be able to see if, oh, man, Sim kept cutting him off or Sim kept muting him or whatever. This is why you do it live. And like Smitty said, I don't understand the people who continue to talk reckless about us or whatever, but they never want to come on and have dialogue. That's hilarious to me. But I told y'all last week, Havo, come on. And y'all see what happened this very next week. No show. So there you have it. So let me go ahead and give you guys the topics real quick, man. What we're going to talk about tonight. I'm glad to be doing this as a panel form. I love it this way because I'm sure Dez as well as Sonny now will have their own thoughts on things. So we love it that way. If we could have it like this every week, we'd be happy to do that. But I'll definitely give you guys the topics that we have. And these are tentative topics because y'all know sometimes we dive into something, with now having Sonny on as well. We might talk about Madden the whole night. You never know how it's going to go as live. But basically what we want to cover tonight, man, and shout outs to Dez and also 205, who gave these topics. So I'll give them the credit. One of the topics actually came to me earlier today on Twitter, and I can't remember. Oh, NYKia gave me this topic. So let me stop yapping and let you guys know what it is. We want to talk about, man, why do people feel like they have to play on the highest difficulty setting in a game when it's designed to cheat you? Specifically, All Madden or Hall of Fame in 2K. We want to kind of talk about why people feel the need to do that, especially with Madden, where they tell you, well, the game is the most balanced in all pro. So we'll dive into that. Also, this one's coming from Dez. Should sports games abandon certain areas of presentation, since there's a lot of people who just skip through them anyway? I'll let him expand on that so you can understand where he's coming from on that. The next one here is, what is holding Madden and sports games back? This is coming from 205. Why can't we drop the lies and really get to the real problems of sports games? And he said he will, go into more detail tonight on the show. How do we use our platforms to become, one voice and all stick together? That's another topic from Stack. I definitely have a nice comment on that one. And then, real quickly, guys, and maybe we can do this in our introductions, I want to kind of talk about the Cam Newton situation real quick, what he said, but more importantly, I see I have a typo here. I said Cannon, but Dannon dropped him, his sponsorship. So I want to get everybody's take on that real quick because, got to talk about something real life, right? All right, so let's go ahead and do it, man. So, Dez, you're up first, man. We'll go in that order so everybody knows how we're going to do everything tonight. It'll be Dez, Sonny, 205, and then back to Smitty and myself. And if we can help it, me and Smitty have limited things to say because we really wanted to be about the panel. So, all right, Dez, man, I guess the first topic, since it was one of yours, let's dive into the presentation topic first. And, whatever you want to say about this past week's game. I know you said you wanted to talk about that.
I did, man, but then I just said, who cares, yo? Like, dude. Because that's what the Ravens have been saying for the last couple of years. Like, who cares, yo? Like, the Ravens are the team. It's funny. I know Zulu in there. You're gonna see when we come out there to Oakland, and the daggone EJ Manuel is gonna be sitting there looking like first round pick EJ Manuel, because that's what you do. Whatever you struggle with, you play against the Ravens, led by John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco, and you correct it that week. And whatever the Ravens thought they did nice the last week, the other team is gonna come out and say, nah. We're going to go ahead and address that. It's funny when you watch Jacksonville beat us by what they beat us by, and then the Jets was up 20-3 on them or whatever it was the other day.
The Jets.
Come on now. It's optics, bro. Like, it's optics at this point, bro. Like, the same penalties, the same clock management. They're going to get delayed games when you punting. Like, you pin them back at the 2-yard line and give up a daggone 18-minute drive or whatever it was. And then what Ravens fans will do, they say, well, we held them to a field goal. Like, man, get out of here, all of that. But anyway, with the presentation, I asked this is because.
No, go ahead. My bad.
In years prior, I've been like, yo, why don't we have better presentation in Madden specifically? Because I feel like all the other games gave it to us, at least the major ones. But Madden, I feel like the presentation is still halfway whack. And if it's not even going to work online, what's the point of even having it in the game? If you play offline, you get the little stat overlays and whatnot, but like everybody's in such a habit of just pressing X to get to the next play call screen that you miss when they highlight the dudes you extended in your franchise or your draft class or whoever's hurt or what have you. Like, you miss all of that. Just like, I don't even care anyway. Like, why can't I get multiple team depth charts? Like, I'm focused more on the bare bones type stuff at this point with the game, where it's like, listen, if it's gonna be this whole experience, I'll sacrifice. Sad as it is to say, I would sacrifice the bells and whistles at this point because I feel like they ain't earned that yet. And if you're gonna put out a game every year that you gotta tweak around with 15 times before the next one comes out, then I'm like, are y'all worried about the right things in the first place? And this isn't even a question about you know, how good they are, what they do, anything like that. I think we already been past that at this point. But for whoever sets the direction of what the priorities are, I'm just kind of like, all right, you know what I mean? If you guys, you know, if you guys aren't going to deliver 100% in any real aspect of the game, gameplay wise, then I don't know if we can sit there and worry about the presentation. People will tell you 2K is great because they got the signature animations and they got the sideline interviews, but how many of those do you sit there and watch? How many times have you actually sat there and watched the whole pregame show, the whole halftime show? Never. You just try and go back to the game. That's my whole point.
Yeah, that's a good point there, man. Stack, come on and give your opinion on that as well, man. You can go ahead and unmute. But yeah, that's a good point that he made about 2K, because I know I skip it. I skip lives all the time, and I think lives halftime show is phenomenal, and the post game, but I rarely watch the whole thing. But what are your thoughts on that, 205?
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm one of these dudes that I usually watch it, but once you hear the same thing constantly over and over, it's a skip. And the honest thing is that there's not really anything 2K's done that hasn't already been done by them. And why I say that is because, like, about it, but it gets stale very quickly. There's nothing new, nothing entertaining. Halftime shows, you know, it I don't know what to say about a halftime show that after you watch the first few, every team has the same one because the animations all run together. And I'm so scripted, and I've played my player several times, and post-game show, they always seem to ask you the same questions. And that's what really makes me think, you know, sometimes, do we really need halftime shows? How much are they really putting into it? Do we really appreciate them anyway? I do want to see them, but, you know, if you think about it, they're really rising the older gamer, because we've seen this all before. The millennials, they're not going to mess with it. Have the time to hold on for 30 seconds for as far as keeping their interest going. And, you know, that's what's really hard for us. You know, we push for these things, but I don't think it's a priority. There's a lot of things that isn't priority because it's flash and dash with 2K. And Madden hasn't got there. They've not ever been there as far as a halftime show, really. Post-game show. Something new has to be freshly put involved, and it has to be updated. Commentary last year is one thing Madden did that was very well. And, you know, honestly, we have to get back to being more fresh and being more where a player or a person can get into it. And I really don't think that the millennials and the people that buy this game is really there at that point. We're all 35, 40-year-old dudes. We see things a lot different than these 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 16-year-olds do. And I'll throw it back to you, Sam.
That's a good point, man. Because, you know, the visual eye candy is always one of those things. That's a good point you said about the age differences as well, because we notice some people like games just because of the way they look. But I want to throw it to Verts, man. First of all, happy to have you on the show, man. In case you guys don't know, y'all have heard me refer to him many a times when I tell you guys, hey, it's not just me. Go listen to the podcast that he did with Rex, where he basically talked about how they got to convince marketing, et cetera, et cetera. This is who I was talking about, in case you guys don't know. So if you want to as well, man, before you begin, you know, giving your thoughts on that, you can give everybody your particulars. I think most of the people watching know who you are, but what are your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on. Definitely appreciate you guys bringing me on here at T4Verts on Twitter. You guys probably heard some of the interviews with the different developers. You know, my thoughts as far as presentation goes is it's all part of a bigger kind of scheme here, right? So we say, okay, well, you know, presentation may not be that big of a deal, but let's focus on gameplay. Well, you know, those are different people doing different things, but presentation still plays into gameplay, right? Because you guys talk about animations. Well, they're hiring some, you know, people down to do some animation and some motion capture work down in Florida because they want to improve those animations. Everybody says, well, that didn't look realistic. That guy wouldn't have moved that way. He wouldn't have caught the ball that way, that different stuff. You know, it all comes back to that immersion aspect. We talk about that a lot, and that, you know, presentation is about making you feel like you're in the game. Gameplay is great, but you want to feel like, you know, that just happened. So halftime shows, yeah, they get repetitive, they get skipped, and anytime you put something pre-canned out there that, you know, guys like us play hundreds of games a year, yeah, it's going to get stale. But in the same aspect, you know, once you lay that foundation, this continuous development stuff they're working on now, there's nothing saying they can't update a couple graphics, change a little thing here or there. You know, maybe you start getting a little bit different segments on that halftime show. Or, you know, the big thing, I ran a poll on Operation Sports not long ago asking for feedback about what it was people wanted. And, you know, one of the highest rated things was that kind of wrap-up show, like a weekly wrap-up show that everybody talks about. They want to see scores, they want to see highlights, things like that, right? Well, that kind of presentation aspect, that can evolve. So, you know, those highlights every week, well, guess what? They're going to be different because they're coming from different games every week. You know, you can update the commentary on that. So they're doing all this commentary work the last couple of years. Okay, well, every couple of weeks, they have Chris Berman or whoever's going to be the weekly wrap-up guy record a couple new phrases that they can throw in there. So I think presentation can be added. But if you really want to get under the, yeah, they need to fix the game. Well, you know, the animations fall under presentation, and that's a big part of the game. And I think a lot of people would agree that's something that a lot of people want to see improved on.
That's a good point too, man. And I'm glad you said what you said, because I want to piggyback off of what you and both Dez said, just to give everybody some substance. Because I mean, I talked to Dez enough so I know where his angle. What Dez is basically saying too is like we're at a point where it just seems like we can't get these two separate teams to work, because, you know, with going down there, I see it all the time. And this is the questions I ask while I'm there. Like, listen, y'all have, you know, Christian and them are doing audio. And then you got, you know, I won't put everybody's name out there, but there's guys that I know that do engineering in other areas. And then you got online, and then you got, so I'm always like, well, why does it always have to seem like it's this focus? Well, we're going to focus on gameplay. Well, what a presentation, what are they doing? You all have jobs. So I see it from both standpoints. And what Dez, I think, is saying is like, if that's what it's going to take for us to get more of the, you know, the meat and potatoes stuff in the game, cool. But y'all know I always say the same thing. I need a simulation to look, feel, and breathe like the real thing. So you do need presentation stuff that I think I need. You know, I do want to see the stat overlays. Maybe some of those intros, like I don't necessarily need to see that. It's, you know, it's cute if you want to watch it, but I definitely like the stat overlays. I would love a wrap-up show. I see some people in the chat are saying, you know, NFL 2K was the standard. No. You know what the standard is for me right now? And I'm sorry, people who just don't like EA. NBA Live, to me, that show, that halftime and post-game show, it's crazy. I don't never feel like I'm watching the same thing. If you play 2K5, listen, I'm not knocking that because we all know that was the GOAT back then. But if you played that game long enough, like I'm sure, you know, Sonny could contest, you know, he could definitely chime in on this. As much as those guys like an NBL play franchise, I'm sure they played that as well. The more you play it, you started to see the same stuff. But if it could be, to chime in on what he said too, if it could be where you can grow, of course, especially with all of us, most of us anyway, liking to play in like 32-man user leagues. Yeah, but that's the biggest thing right there. We don't even have it online. It's almost like the presentation that Madden even has is just stuck to offline.
Mm-hmm.
And how you going to explain that to guys, like Verts and, others that play these extensive franchises, and you get none of that presentation. So it's the immersion factor. We can't really benefit from it online. So I see it from both angles. Des, did you have anything else to add to that before we, dive into something else?
I want to say something about that stat. I mean,
okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Stat.
I would also like to see, since we're talking about presentation, we need to have replay value. And when I say replay value, we need to have it to where, like, how like in real games, you have cutaways where they draw up the play. Hey, this is how the hole opened up on their run. This is how he got open on the pass. This is how this coverage was able to make this interception. This was how we was able to shut down this run. Certain things, even if it's offline, to bring you more immersiveness inside the game. And then that way you will have a halftime show with true animations from your game, and everything can be split up that way. I want to see the commentary mixed in with the presentation of replays. That's how I would like to see it. What do y'all think about that?
Would love that. What you think, Des?
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem, and I'm going to speak specifically to Madden right now, because I think just about all the other major sports titles really have presentation, at the very least, to the level that was established 10 years ago. And that's my biggest problem with Madden, is like there's the aspects of the game that I cherished the most back then have never evolved, because NCAA had crazy commentary back then. They had crazy stat overlays, different little cutaways where they would profile the impact player and what he did and these things. That's the stuff that I feel like we don't see in Madden. If there was a way for you to be able to upload your best 2 plays from a game to the league for the league highlight show, I mean, Madden, they tried that little half behind thing with Fran Charles on like Madden 09 or Madden 10, I remember, and it wasn't even highlights. It was just, he would just run down the bulletin board of stats from the week and you'd go on. And I just don't feel like they've really ever pushed the envelope up until last year when they started doing the live commentary, which is crazy for what it is. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you're going to put your heart and soul in the commentary, I take that, but what they've given us, bro, like on no level competes with any of the other heavy hitters in the sports genre, in my opinion. I feel like it's so that's why I'm just like, if you're only going to do that, I'm going to just be satisfied with a lesser package overall. And I understand that presentation includes animations, but I think we can, for the purpose of this conversation, realize that I'm not comparing those apples to apples. But when we talk about the extras and the stuff that, again, will convince somebody that 2K is a perfect game, even though you can morph through somebody's whole body in 4 different whoops in the same play and things like that, just because you get interviewed by Doris Burke on the sideline or David Aldridge now, right? Because they switched it up or whatever. But my whole point is like, that's what'll hide the overall flaws in the game. And it's very funny to me how, I ain't even gonna go there all the way, but there's just so many blatant distractions being put out for the masses right now that are just taking everybody's focus away from the serious issues and the stuff that actually matters. You know what I mean? Cam Newton talking about the one that don't matter, but somehow that's trending over the fact that all this other stuff is happening, and not even in the world, but just in the country. That's my whole point. That's what the presentation ends up turning into if you're not giving us a beautiful product. So I would take that as a trade-off within the context of y'all aren't delivering what I think should be the status quo right now. So I give y'all that if you can give me X, Y, and Z, what that needs to be.
Yeah, that's hitting it right on, man. Because it's like, and it's tough because I've said this before. Being behind the curtain, this hand understands why. This hand is like, man, forget all that. It's like, I know why, but then at the same time, I'm like, because even speaking on commentary, and I want to ask Verts and 205, get y'all's thoughts on this too. After doing what they did in 17, you know, getting the new team together and all of that, I was like, oh, great start. And I understood. I'm gonna give y'all a quick piece of information. I already knew what the struggle was going to be coming to 18 with everything. I knew it was going to be hard getting all of these pieces back in order and getting it to a stable level and then trying to innovate. But here's this hand again. I'm still like, regardless of what happened, I still know what the product is. And it's like commentary didn't do much this year. I mean, you get a couple of nuggets in there in CFM, which I'm happy about, where they'll talk about this, talk about that, but it didn't take the leap that I thought it would have taken. So it's kind of hard to, you know, be happy or satisfied with it. I do like commentary for the most part. It put an expectation on all of us from seeing what they did in 17. And we all was like, woo. Because even when I was there, you know, last year, they're telling me, oh, this is like phase, like half a phase, not even phase one. I was like, what? See what we really going to do. And then, you know, we find out about Frostbite actually happening. Y'all know the story. I told y'all this before, you know. Some of the people in the office is kind of like, oh, boy, I don't know how we going to get all of this done. Rex has been kind of, you know, really candid by saying, listen, quite a struggle, but it still hurts. And I know Smitty could speak on that as well. It's because we're there, but we're still fans of the game. We still want that product. But so I'll throw it to 205 first, and then Verts, you can come in right after that. How do you feel, man, as far as where commentary is right now, or 18? Like, how do you feel about what happened from 17 to 18?
Sim, I don't mean this as any disrespect towards Rex or the crew or the devs, but this has got to be the most buggiest Madden I've ever played.
It is.
I say that is because it's like thing happened with the takeoff of this game. First, the zones got ripped out. Then the patch gets put back in where the zones is getting tightened up. And now I'm playing the game and people are moving at a rate of just makes no sense. Like, I was playing a game last night and I was in my skills trainer through the CFM in one of my leagues, and Des Bryant did a juke as fast, or if not faster, I would probably say faster than Shady McCoy, and juked two of my out of their shoes, right in between both of them, and scores a touchdown. And I'm sitting here thinking that is not even possible with Des Bryant. Not to say he can't juke, but to juke like that, like it was turbo speed, was ridiculous. Players are not playing the way they're supposed to. There is no reality between players yet. And I was hoping for that. Like, the reason why I say that is, like, Richard Sherman plays, and yeah, he's supposed to play like Richard Sherman, but Joe Blow can end up picking the ball off on guys that should be blowing him away as a corner. Like the other night, me and 757 was talking. We literally was looking at the wide receivers, have a +5 in height and a +6 in speed. And the corners was 5'9", 5'8", 5'10", and they was picking balls off on these dudes. And they do it all the time. And the corners are playing completely out of their mind. And am I telling Rex that I do not want coverage to be good? No. But what I'm saying is there has to be a balance between these players. There cannot be no way you can tell me that a 5'9" guy is out jumping somebody that's 6'3", 6'2", 6'4", 6'5". And they did it all through the end of last year on 17 when they started doing all these patches. And that's my biggest problem, is I thought we was going to be able to have patches separated. We haven't had a patch separated yet. It's been global. I don't know what to say about it, but it doesn't do very well for me. And commentary is nice, but when the gameplay does not equal what is being said in the booth, it just takes away from the game for me. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I hate that, man, with all of these games. Having a large library of these sports games now, I'm noticing that, and I guess maybe that's a technology thing. Madden seems to have a bigger problem with it not matching up, but I hate that as well. But what are your thoughts, Verts? I know already offhand you guys talk to the devs, pretty regularly as well. So I know it's a lot of things that you probably understand on the back end also. But what were your initial thoughts, man, as far as what they did last year to where we're at now?
So commentary, right? They just started rolling it out last year, and there were some bumps along the way, and they're learning some things about that. They've made some strides going into this year, I think. But really, there's a lot of stuff they still have to work on, and they're working on it. The tech in the background, though, and that's what people have to realize is as they get going, they develop new systems in the background. And so they've done some stuff this year that allows them to do some changes and do some different things that's really about setting up for the future. So if you notice this year, they will make comments based on what's happening around the league, as in scores are happening, upsets happen. You see the score ticker come across and you'll see them say, well, that has a big impact on the playoff race, something along those lines. And what that is self-awareness. And that self-awareness of the outcome of that game and the impact on the rest of the league is part of that tech that's working towards something bigger. And this is my personal take. Now, this is not any inside information. It's just some stuff that I've kind of drawn some lines between, but they already can score highlights. They know at the end of a game what plays were highlight worthy. They basically have a back-end scoring system that says this is a 9.5, whatever. Now they have awareness in how things react to other things within the league. What they're setting up for is that wrap-up show. And I think commentary is kind of leading that direction. So you got the commentary end game, but you're going to get that commentary on the back end in the wrap-up show based on some of this tech they're putting in. So I think the commentary that we've been hearing and seeing is really kind of leading up to something bigger. It's a long, drawn-out process. And Sim, you kind of alluded to this in the right hand, left hand. You see things happening in the background. Things don't happen overnight, and that's people say that's an excuse, but that's the world we live in. That's how things work. You're not going to pull a presentation guy or a commentary guy off to go build game mechanics because that's not what they do. Right? That's like saying I'm going to take a recording producer and tell them to go make a movie. Well, they're both producers, but that's not the same thing. And so people have to understand they've got guys in positions to capitalize on what their talents are. And I think a lot of times we just think, hey, they've got 50 developers, so take all 50 and make them do this. Well, it's a very broad term. That's not what they do. So kind of in the overarching question, yeah, I think commentary is getting better. Obviously, it could be better. But we've made strides from last year to this year, and I think it's really setting up for something big.
Hey, can I touch on that real quick?
Yeah, definitely. Smitty, I'm going to get Sonny, you in right after this.
Yeah, Sonny, I so understand where you're coming from. And the question ends up being, though, is if the work that X team is producing is only getting you whatever the result is, instead of, because if everybody's pulling from the same pool of resources, right? The human resource pool, right? Pretty much every company's biggest expense is going to be labor, right? So if I got 50 developers and I've had 5 of them being in charge of the presentation, and they've still only given me this, regardless of what the context around this is, that's what they've given us. And why do I say, all right, instead of having these 5 people, we're going to let 2 of them go, and we're going to get 2 people who can do this better. And these are the questions that I'm asking, not as consumer devs, but as executive devs. Like if I'm making the decisions and I'm saying, if there's only X amount of money to go around for X amount of jobs, how many of these people do I need? And if the end product is going to be what it's going to be, the question ends up being, what are they satisfied with? And the question for us is, what are we satisfied with? Because I think at this point, everybody's dissatisfied with it need time. Because everybody on this panel right here, most of the people listen, understand that is going to be some time involved in getting certain things in. But like, eventually, you had time for presentation or for comment or for replays or highlight shows. You had all the time to do that. Y'all wasn't on the level back then. So the time stuff, yeah, but I would say, man, like I would just encourage us to try to force the issue more with them and keep the right hand of, I ain't trying to hear that. If y'all gonna be turning around and making it so that people like you and your crew have to do all the work that you do to make it what you guys do, which is crazy. Deuce Douglas has to put together a whole PhD study on CFM to make a move. You know, like that, it shouldn't come down to the community. That to me is bull crap, man. And I'm trying to be nice about it, but I'm not trying to hear all that. Where's DJ 81 with the anti-consumer practice conversation? Because I'm not trying to make us the consumers, the people who do the work in the form of paying for the game. Why are we having to advocate for these issues past sending y'all these tweets? It's messed up that they send Clinton Rex out to everybody. Y'all need to be hiring people. Yeah, if you're listening, you need to be hiring social media people. I don't want to see Rex on Twitter 5 hours a day. Clint on Twitter. Nah, spend that time fixing the blocking assignments. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it's all about the collective. Let there be limited resources, but if it's limited, you need to let it be the telltale game. And Buck might not have to eat, or Duck might not have to eat, so you can feed Clementine. That's what it's gonna be. I dropped that on y'all. The real ones got that one.
Yeah, man. We got Smitty back, guys. I'm gonna get Smitty here in a moment. While Smitty is unmuting, I definitely wanted to chime in quickly on. It's funny how Verts and Dez keep doing this. They keep saying both sides of it, which is perfect. It's like Dez is absolutely right, and Verts is right. With the new technology, that's just the truth. Like, it's not an excuse for Madden or anybody else. That's just the reality of it. Madden, we all know, is behind, and they're playing catch up, and it's going to take them time to catch up. But something like presentation, where I gotta agree with Dez, is let's remember Madden 12. Remember Madden 12 hit and they showed all of it. We was like, oh, like, and then it just seemed like they just left it for a long time. Then 3-4 years come around and they do something else. And then now it's still, and that's the part that ticks me off, is kind of like, whatever these, I've met some of them, but not all of them. I haven't met the big suits. Whoever the ones that are in charge of saying, this is what we're going to allow y'all to do this year, that's where my beef lies, because I'm like, listen, man, y'all got to do better than that, because I get the allocation of time and resources, etc. But some of these things, you can't keep neglecting them. You just can't keep doing that. Presentation, I don't know about y'all. I was pumped for presentation after Madden 12. That excited me. And then we played it, and the game felt better than the last one. That's when they introduced the zones and stuff like that. It was looking good. And then it just got stagnant all over again. And the presentation we have now has been the same. Think about it. I think it was Madden 15, maybe. When Brian Murray comes in, that's my guy, by the way, the NFL films guy. Beautiful stuff, but have we really seen that evolve in the last couple of years? I guess what I'm saying is I'm tired of that. I'm tired of it always being, we'll do this year and then we'll let it sit. And then we'll come back and get that 3 years later. I'm like, nah, man. I need all of these departments to be making strides every single year. However much time y'all got, I need to see strides from every aspect of the game in some way, shape, or form. But Smitty, man, welcome back. Man, I hope you're feeling better. You can chime in on any of that we're saying. Basically, the question to the guys was, before we move to the next thing, how are you feeling about where commentary is right now versus what we got in the introduction in 17? Like, were you let down by, it has changed. Like Vert said, there's a lot of good little nuggets in there that they're doing in CFM, but were you expecting more in 18?
I wasn't expecting it to leap and bound. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
All right. I wasn't expecting it to leap and bound like that because the thing is, commentary only goes so far as a presentation. And also, at the same time, presentation is only going to matter but so much because of the gameplay has to complement. Madden's gameplay at this point does not complement commentary and presentation packages on that level of like what you see Deuce Douglas talking about.
Right.
And that's why I put in the chat there. I said NHL has that NBC presentation on lock. It makes me care. Like I care to let the period play out and let, see the goal scored as they give commentary on it and flash up the NBC music and hear the dramatic sound and all that. It's like, it's just like if I'm watching the NBA on NBC, it makes me think about that. Like if you had the old school NBA on NBC music playing and they showing highlights, showing the end of the quarter, showing highlights on both offense and defense of both teams. That's the kind of stuff it makes you care, especially when the gameplay is executing enough on a level where you care enough to let the presentation ride at times. But Madden, it's on the same level where it's like, oh, I'll hit X. Let me hold X real quick. Who cares about Larry Ridley? It's the same thing. You see what I'm saying? So it's like there is no real big deal. And it's like the Brandon, the Garden Davis effect is only going to be so strong until the presentation matches. And it's not going to carry the weight. So that's what I'm saying. It's a whole process. And as we've said before, Sim, we said many times before, it's going to take time. I know, excuse me. I know that sounds very cliche. And I know that people ain't trying to hear that, especially the typical consumer. But we're telling you the reality of the situation. Many people don't want to absorb that, but that's what it is. The time passes because, like you said, Tim, and we all know there are, there are execs, there are guys that make decisions that are above. Listen, you think Rex would have said, you know what, guys, as tough as it is to transition from one engine to the next, let's make it even harder on ourselves and let's do this long shot. Like, no, it wasn't something that he pretty much made a decision on his own and said, hey, let's do it. No, it was, he was instructed and that's what had to happen. We saw what happened across the way with FIFA. Oh, snap. Yo, yeah, it's time to green light this, this mode, this story. They made their debut on Frostbite and everything with it. Oh, yeah, we got to do the same thing with Madden. We got to capitalize on that. If I'm a big suit investor, I can't get mad at that decision. But as me, who wants to sim football game and want to see the gameplay even better, that is upsetting. But, and this is from what Stack was saying. I agree with his point on what he was saying as far as gameplay and stuff like that. But we got to also understand these dudes face a natural disaster. So we're lucky that they were able to get that update out that they got. Unfortunately, the game got touched in the first place. We already went over that. But if they had the time to put out a more flushed out update, then it'll be nice to see how much more they may have been able to refine zone play or the pass rush, because those are problematic issues. So these are all things that need to be updated and addressed accordingly. Things were thrown off track, I'm pretty sure, for the team because of the hurricane. So everything is not on the exact same timetable. But see, this is the thing we also got to bear in mind. I know that, hurricane was like a few days situation for some, much bigger deal for others. But guess what? They're not going to push back the street day for Madden. It's still going to come. It still has to drop the same day every year, regardless. And, and the thing is, yeah, you can hire more people, and have a much bigger staff and all that stuff and everything. But that doesn't necessarily mean game is going to be there. They still got to build, and once again, and the point, and I mean, guys on this panel understand that, but I'm just saying that what was I going to say? When it comes to these guys evolving the game, time, deadlines, all that good stuff that's involved in the gaming process, of them, game development process. There are things that they choose to do, plans change, all that stuff. Sim and I know of things, like I said, we know of things that were on par to happen and ended up not happening because things change up.
I told y'all.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, there are things that we heard from people that, if was done, it'll be amazing to see in the game. But the thing is, all that stuff is time. And it's like, man, I can't wait to see what they're trying to do, but it's going to happen in due time. You know what I mean? And I mean, like I said, I know we all hate waiting, but that's why I said before, this ain't a movie release. This ain't Infinity War where there's a set movie date. There's a set date for release, and this trailer is going to tell you all you need to know. No. It's not going to tell you what's forthcoming. It's just going to be done once they're once they're in a position to do it. And that's the whole thing when you're playing from behind. We can all look across the street to FIFA and NHL and all these other games. What needs to be done with Madden, without question. But remember, Rex inherited a situation that was not of his doing. And he had to work with that and make it work and still innovate. And that's what you got to do. You have to overcome that. I'm not saying it's, ran him apart, but I'm saying that's the stuff you have to overcome and continuously to build upwards. Yes, the game is mad buggy. It definitely is. We've pointed that out. Y'all see it when I stream. Hey, I'm pretty sure you see it when Sim streams along with other people.
This might be the worst year, man. We know why, but yeah. Good Lord.
Yeah, but it needed to happen. That's the whole point. Take the L, make the move, take the L, and build up from there. Like I said, what was the first game on Frostbite? Rory McIlroy. Did that game absolutely blow your mind away on Frostbite with the first instance of the game? No. The visuals of the players, they look like straight up Battlefield characters. Like in terms of that art design, like Rory McIlroy, he looked like a Battlefield character. He didn't look like his own. Like he didn't look like how. Look at how those FIFA players look. Not FIFA 18. Just look at 17. He doesn't even look that good. None of the golfers in that game look that good. You see what I'm saying? That's my point. When you make that transition to the engine on a high demand game like this that has to drop, they could drop PGA whenever. You see what I'm saying? Who knows how much time they had to work that out? But you didn't see Frostbite just shine through in its fullest glory in that golf title. It wasn't until you saw it in FIFA, then you started to see some stuff. You see what I mean? So that's what this game had to do. So that's what I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's an excuse. There's no passes. We all know that. But there's validity as to what's going on here. Now, they need to do better. Madden 19 definitely needs to do better without question. But they're in a much better position resource-wise going forward with Madden 19. And Rex has said that. So, and we've talked about that here. So I'll throw it back to you, Sim.
Yeah, man, I'll transition into the next topic, which actually.
Sim, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as even with this game being as buggy as it is, I still enjoy this because this game is really a good game. The only problem that I do have is when we are transitioning presentation to the commentary. and what we see on the field. Sometimes the commentary doesn't mix with what's on the field. That's my biggest part of where we're talking about presentation and commentary. Sometimes they'll be talking about a pass play when I ran the ball. And that is some things that I don't understand. Now, when the patch came through at the beginning of the year, before the hurricane, that wasn't an excuse for me. And I understand what Smitty said, and there's nothing against him because, me and Smitty get along fine. That was my biggest thing. Just how the game released and then been going on. And more patches coming, and I know this game's going to get cleaned up. And I trust Rex and Clint and those guys, but it's been a really bad year. And it's got a lot of people frustrated. Even though as buggy as this game is, and as many leagues as I'm playing in, which I'm playing in too, and say it's one of the best Maddens they've ever played. And I'll leave that there. Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, here's the thing. Transitioning to the next topic that kind of Smitty springboard into it, which is one of the topics that 205 gave. And I'll come to Dez first, and then we'll go down the line to 205, and then back to Verts, and then back to Smitty. But I'll kick it off, man, because his question was, what's really holding back these sports games? And we're going to stick with Madden. And, he also said, let's forget all the lies and let's talk about the real problems. And that's why I'm interested when we get back down to 205 to hear his take, to expand on his topic there. But here's the issue. I'm going to answer his question. This is just me personally. I want you guys to really take heed to what I'm saying from the standpoint of somebody who has endless communication with the devs, been down to EA numerous times, have talked to a member or two that's in the higher up. This is what I really think it is, man. I think what's really holding Madden back is the community. And let me explain why. Trust me when I say this. There's nothing that they can't do. I'm going to go on record and say that. I see people say this all the time. And listen, as a general consumer, I get it. Because, again, some of the people who say this are 19 years old. Some people who say it are 50 years old. As a general consumer, I get what you're saying, because before I had the knowledge of how things work, et cetera, I had the same questions. But now the difference between some of you guys and Smitty, myself, and even Verts, guys who talk to the devs a lot, you notice we all have the same tone, right? We don't give them a pass. We still get in there, when we have to, but we understand things differently. Think about guys like Kia, or Madden Universe, Relly, that they don't have no connection, but they still are right along the same lines when we speak on these things. So let me hurry up and get to the point. What I'm trying to say is the community doesn't know what they really want. I look at it today, and we're going to talk about this. So we'll tie these two topics together. Clint puts out a tweet today, and he says, where do we need feedback in terms of all Madden? And he basically puts up, turn down coverage, turn down blocking, turn this up, turn that up. Which one do you guys want? Looking at that poll and some of the questions I was getting from that, I was like, how can we possibly just get a game? It was people saying that defense is way too hard. Some people were saying pass rush is perfect. Some people were saying the run game is great on all of these different things. And I'm like, what the? There's no consistency amongst what we all want from a football standpoint. The biggest problem that I see with this community is whenever anything resembles something that could really happen in real life, it's a problem. Because everybody has that video game mentality. They want it to work all the time. They don't care if the guy is a great defensive lineman. Oh, man, he shouldn't shed that block. Or let's talk about what Smitty said. Oh, man, this guy's only rated a 70. He can't make an interception. Why not? Listen, y'all see this. I'm a Steelers fan. You know, I saw Brett Kiesel get an interception. For any of you guys that know your football, Brett Kiesel, big Brett Kiesel, gets an interception. I'm pretty sure his rating in Madden probably was like a 50 in catching, but in the real world, he got a pick. My point is, we don't have enough consistent people understanding how random football really is. There is no rating that can determine how well a guy can catch or how, you know, it's supposed to be possible. If we want a game to be dynamic, things are supposed to be possible. Now, I will say, if we see obvious bugs, you know, if you see it's a video game, so let's get back to reality a little bit. If I see a 50 rated linebacker, he definitely shouldn't be covering the field like, you know, like he's got to be biased here, but he shouldn't be showing speed like a Ryan Shazier. If this dude, you know, has 60 speed and his coverage is 60, he shouldn't be plucking everything off. But there are legitimate things that happen in the game. It's not perfect, but there's things that happen and people have a problem with it. It's in the community, man, because listen, I'm telling y'all right now, that those suits and all of that, they jump as soon as they hear some noise. If y'all don't believe me, let's rewind back to EA Play. Everybody wants to know, oh, why did they touch the zones? There you have it. The noise was coming. Oh, defense is too hard. And this was on All Pro, mind you. Nobody was playing on All Madden. And look what happened. That's why the game will always be held back, in my opinion. It ain't the devs. If I'm telling y'all, if I was to sit here and tell y'all some of the stuff that I know my man A-Dub is working on or worked on, some of the things that February was going to be in 18, and then all of a sudden, we can't get to. I'm telling you, it ain't them. It is not the development team. Y'all want football, just sit back and wait. But here's the catch. What are they going to be allowed to do? We listen to that investors call every year, and they basically tell you where they want Madden to be. You don't never hear them talk about football. Think about it. Think about, this is the last thing I say, I'm going to throw it to Dez. Madden 25, Andrew Wilson. I never had a chance to meet him, by the way. He stands on that stage and he's telling us how the game is going to be. Couldn't you tell that was a marketing angle? All of these calculations, living worlds. Oh, they will react like humans. Oh, the hits. Even as it was being presented, you could hear that wasn't from, no disrespect, but that wasn't from a football guy. And guess what? We never saw it. We still ain't seen it. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm keeping it all the way real tonight. What I keep telling you guys, man, as a community, we have to find a way to go at the suits. We got to find a way to display this anger or dissatisfaction to those who are cutting the check. Stop going at the devs, man. And I get it. We tell the devs your feedback, but stop. I don't want to hear all of this. Oh, y'all suck. Oh, it ain't them. Trust me. Why would I lie? There's no reason for me to lie. I'm telling you what I know. And I'm just saying, man, that's what's holding the game back. It's the community for the most part. What you think, Des?
It's interesting because, you know, we sit here on the show week in, month in, and year out, and we complain about the same things. So it's interesting that you say, you know, as soon as that there's a however much noise in the community, that they just jump and they do stuff. And something that you said earlier is that, you know, they add something to the game and they leave it there. And that's where I agree with the F Madden type people of the world.
Right.
Because you throwing me bones, you shutting me up, you pacifying me. And after a while, if you're sitting there as somebody who is looking with that third eye and who's sitting there looking through the situation. And then you also have, the game changers wind up being like, our big brothers, because you guys tell us how Freaknik was in '93. You guys tell us how this and this and that used to be. Man, if you knew what it was like, man, if you got to do what I got to do, boy, but we don't.
Freaknik
and if they're gonna allow,
just for the record.
That's another thing, man. I ain't 30 yet, man. I ain't 35 and 40, man. Y'all can keep that. I ain't with y'all yet, man. But,
a good time.
But nah, my whole point, man, is the question ends up being, just like you said, their checklist doesn't have to do with football. So if there's not a unified message that goes out and says, yo, this is what it needs to be, period, we all agree, period, then what can we expect them to prioritize? Because what I don't see is this unified effort from the people that we say that are being, that they're catering to and making the game easier. Like, I don't understand, like, what method of communication or what message they're getting that's getting this action that so clearly affects all of us. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand what they're doing that we're not. Because to me, if we have to say that the squeakiest wheel gets the oil, who is squeakier than the real hardcore community? And like I said the last time we talked, we've been like the 300 Spartans as far as getting the football aspects into the game. It's a very small group of people that's really making major changes to the X's and O's that most people wouldn't see. And what's funny is that most of the people that complain about the game, for good or for bad, can't read or they don't understand the concepts of football from the X's and O's perspective any better than the reporter that Cam Newton challenged. You know what I'm saying? She probably footballed them under the table.
Hold on, man. Hey, we don't want to get our sponsors taken away now, Des.
No, I'm big up in her and talking about these clowns. You know what I mean? Because you get, and I feel you, but I'm just saying, like, there's so much stolen valor in football. All these people that sit there and think that they portray like you was some All-American. I'm like, yo, if you pass a certain age, we can Google you. If you was that dude, like that in the last decade plus, your highlights can be touched. So all these dudes who sitting there claiming this and this and that, and when I say claiming it, it's through their actions and their words and their criticisms. Because I'm sitting there like, yo, if you said that talking to Clinton Oldenburg and you didn't wind up in a media guide that somebody had to pay for in a stadium with 50,000 plus people in there, y'all don't have nothing to talk about. At the end of the day, I don't care how many books you read, I don't care how many film studies. Listen, if you ain't playing the league, you have nothing to talk about with somebody who played in the league. If you ain't playing college, you don't have nothing to talk about with somebody playing college. And that's it's funny we talked about the Cam Newton thing, and that's the that's the whole bravado of football, man. Is there's always this constant contest of who goes harder than the last one, whose county was tougher. Man, if we played y'all, blah, blah, that's anywhere you go, yo. From the time you was in Pop Warner to the time the game said, nah, you can't play no more. There's always been that contest of whose conference is harder, whose practices were harder, who had to do the most up downs. That's what it is. Taking it back to the all Madden conversation. That's the mentality of the sport. So that's the culture. And you know what I'm saying? If your fingers ain't bent a different way to this day because of something that you did on the field, it's very hard for you to understand that concept. And if you don't sit there as a consumer and say, hey, what are you gonna do? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how much more articulately it can be explained to them over the years. And if they're gonna get pissy with us because we keep hitting them about the same things, then obviously something's gonna have to give. And if you tell me it's gonna take another year, let it take another year. But every last thing that y'all did or y'all snuck in there last year, they got the formation subs in the last minute, still don't work for custom playbooks, still don't really work at all. But it's in there, right? That's what it ends up being. You toss the bone and you don't flesh it out and tell us it's going to take time. Sonny, I hope you can explain to me why that's not the case, because it seemed like, you know what I mean, with the experiences you've had talking to them, you probably know a couple of things you probably can't speak on, but maybe you can make me feel confident, because at this point, they're about to have to go on timeout if they don't stop playing.
Yeah, go ahead, Sonny. I'm going to come to 205 after, because it was his topic, so I want him to expand on that. So, yeah, Sonny, what's your thoughts on that whole thing, man? I mean, like Dad said, I know you've had these conversations with them as well, and it's just a weird thing. But what are your thoughts on it?
So there's been a lot of comments made between everybody here. So I'll kind of chip away at a couple of things as we go. The point about knowing football is interesting, right? And I'm not going to go as far to say you have to play football to know football. Bill Belichick never played in the NFL. He was maybe a horrible D3 player somewhere. I mean, you look at some of the guys that actually are designing the plays at EA, those guys aren't NFL players, but I'll tell you what, they'll tell you they're some of the best football minds Clint and some of those guys have ever met. So, to go that far, I think there's being able to play something, there's being able to coach something. They don't always go hand in hand. So not going to put too much there. But what I will say is that people, their perception of what they think they know and how they think things are supposed to act leads to a lot of confusion. And that confusion can lead to aggravation and being upset. And when that happens, you get people that, they freak out. And so a good concept of that, for years, everybody thought that cover 4 was this great prevent type defense. Oh, 3rd and 17, I'm going cover 4 and I'm going to stop this guy. No way I should be able to give this up. Well, guess what? Cover 4 is actually not that great of a defense. And so you get crushed by guys throwing deep down the middle of the field with combination routes. And people freak out and they go, there's no way they should ever complete that pass. Well, that's not true, but you don't actually understand what's supposed to happen. You just think you know. People don't understand which route combinations work against certain coverages.
Right.
Even to the rating aspect of things. There's a 67 overall middle linebacker, right? He can make plays. The game is based on random dice rolls. You can actually have a horrible statistical odds of something happening and do it back to back, right? You can have odds that are 1 in 1,000 and nail it back to back. That just means it was very rare that it was going to happen, but it can happen. And so there's misunderstanding of the technical aptitude and the technical things that the game does, and there's misunderstanding of football. And when you combine that at such a large scale, you have a lot of really pissed off people. That's the other big factor here. And I think the disconnect, and people say, why can't the game progress, so on and so forth. Us, right here on this panel, Twitter, OS, that's about 0.5% of the population that play Madden. What was it last year? 8 million copies? You don't see 8 million different people on Twitter and social media and whatnot talking about anything. You see maybe the same couple hundred, maybe 1,000 people talking, voicing opinions. That's right. But there's certain aspects of the game that the other 7 million people appreciate, presentation being one of them. That's what's going to sell it. And you can say, well, it's all about money and so on and so forth. EA has a fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders to make money. Somewhere lost in that wash, right, is the developers who enjoy football and are catering to us are still being there to fight for us. And I think that is the biggest thing. It's a perception of being held back. I don't think the game's being held back or we're not advancing. I think what you're trying to do is please a lot of different types of people that want a lot of different things out of this game. And so we, being the vocal minority, feel like we're being forgotten or that the game's not doing what it's supposed to do. But I try to take an empathetic look, right? And here's the big thing, right? I am the hardcore sim gamer that wants it to look exactly like what I see on Sunday, and I want it to do this and do that. But I'm also a guy that's worked in a tech industry in the marketing side, right? So the side that everybody hates at EA, the marketing guy, I'm that guy for a company that works in the tech industry. And I will tell you that nothing gets done if we don't sell something, right?
Right.
If I can't move it, your budget's getting cut. right? I got to keep putting out something that people want to buy. And you can say, well, people will buy real football. Well, Head Coach 09 didn't sell very well, guys. I mean, that kind of stuff, that's what we want. But their numbers didn't show that. I want that, but it's going to take a longer time to get there. So kind of that overarching, where's the disconnect? I think the community, you mentioned it, Sim, the community's tough because the community thinks they know what they think they know, but the reality is they don't really know, a lot.
That was an interesting point, man. I love this panel tonight because it's different opinions on different sides, but it's funny how it kind of all blends together. I'll hold my second thought on that until after 205 chimes in. So go ahead, man, because I know you said what you told me offline that you would explain exactly what your thoughts was as far as the lies. So I'm interested in hearing this.
Number one, you preached a lot of things that I've been waiting to hear, Sim. You said some things tonight that I've been waiting for you and Smitty and other people to say for a long time. The fact of the matter is there's too many people trying to be chiefs and not enough Indians. And the reason why I've said this, and I knew the answer to my question before I posted it, but I have to be the way I am. The fact of the matter is the lies are not Rex or Clint. The lies remain with you. The lies remain with me. And why I say that, and I'm going to be philosophical here, you don't want what you asked for. You haven't been wanting what you asked for 3.5 years. Every time Rex gives you something, you rip it out. And the reason why he rips it out is because you cry like a bunch of crybabies. Yet, to understand how you can tell me, I want football, when it's given to you, you scream and holler like a little girl. I'm sitting here watching the football game. Patriots versus Tampa Bay. They run an end around with the wide receiver. The dude mishandles the ball, drops it on the ground, falling down, jumps on top of it. And if that happens in Madden, you know what's going to happen? We're going to have 500 million trillion tweets going off the Rex. This game is... I have said this for at least 1.5 years on the red zone. You do not want what you ask for. I'm so sick and tired of hearing this. And people are saying, well, the game should be at this point by now. The game isn't at a point because we can't all come together and be a community of one. We can't be a community of one. Where do we expect this game to be? Me, Sim, versus all these people, we all want football. We talk about it all the time. Dez wants football. 4Verts wants football. We all want football. Guess what? We all see it a different way than the other person. And the fact is, we can come together, but there's so many people that call themselves simulation or call themselves authentic to the sport and wind and literally dumb down the community like fake news. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's almost like dealing with CSN and MSNBC and Fox News and all this ridiculous stuff. We're not going to get anywhere if we cannot come to the suits. And I've been saying this for a long time. The suits hold all the cards. They've been holding all the cards. And you're talking to the wrong people. Rex cannot fix this game without your help. Does he nearly need to take off his shirt and put a big old tattoo on his chest and say, help me, please? How many freaking times has he come out and said, it's not me? It says he can do only what he's allowed to do. Sim and Smitty and AZ and all these people said it is not Rex. So when are we going to learn? When are we going to get our videos and our word and everybody to join together and go at the suits and say, look, this is where the game should be. It's not up to Rex to make the complete change or overhaul. He is still an employee to EA Sports. Sim, I'll let you have it, man.
man, I love it. I love when other people say what we try to convey as well. It's obvious. And here's the truth of it. It doesn't give EA a pass. It doesn't. I don't accept it either. But it is what it is. Y'all heard, well, maybe y'all didn't, but you heard when he was on Full Vert's podcast, I want to say a year ago. And a specific line that he said that he's told me several times was, listen, man, we got to convince marketing why this needs to be in the game. What creative director will just come out and tell you that? And I'm like, are you listening? And listen, I'm not telling people to say, oh, don't give them any crap. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the developers, along with guys like myself and Sonny, who can literally tell you, well, this is actually what's going on. Why don't we take heed to it? I don't get that part of it. It's still too many of you guys that seem like you're fishing for information, and the information is already laid out there. And another part of it too is understanding. Like, I'm not going to say his name in here, and this is not a slight to this guy, but this is to show you how sometimes simple conversation works. Right here in the chat, one of the guys in here said, man, I think the downfall of the game was when they stopped, going to Madden to get his input. And I said, no, actually, they still meet with John Madden every single year at the beginning of the cycle. And he simply came back with, oh, man, thanks. I didn't realize that. Simple understanding sometimes. Like, we have to be a community that can do that. And I'm not trying to sit here and act like, oh, I'm the big bad leader. No, I'm just saying guys like myself, Sonny, it's others that talk to the devs. I'm losing, even NY Kia's had conversations with them. But people like that, OS, Millennium, guys like that have been in position to give you real information. We got to find a way to band together, first of all, and start listening to what we're saying. Like, we're not blowing any smoke here. NBL has been very active in the last couple years, going to EA Play or E3 or whatever, getting this information, doing podcasts. And they're getting the information, and we're making these guys tell us what they're doing. Luckily enough, we have guys like Rex and Clint that will tell you. But we got to find a way, man, to change the narrative of, they won't do this. They hate, they're not going to do that. It ain't about that. We got to find a way. And I'm going to challenge all of us, man. I'm going to look into it myself. We got to find a way to make sure those who make the decisions on time allocation and all of that hear us. Because, I'm at the point, and, I got to give a shout out to my boy, Azure. Azure has been saying this. I'm at the point, man, where the dev level is cool, but I need to be at that other table now. Because I know it ain't these guys. I need to be at the table of, listen, allow these guys to be great. And I will say this, because I want to go back to Sonny after he's heard us all speak and get his point of view now. I will agree with what you said, too, man, about it's not necessarily a holdback, because I think that's a huge misconception that people seem to think with Madden, they do this on purpose. It ain't that. It's basically what they deem to be priority. That's the truth of the whole matter. Whatever they deem to be the big priority, that's what they do. Sometimes it's not the football guys making that decision. Again, Rex has told us this. He listened to my interview from this year. Well, it was marketing decision. You could hear the unenthusiastic. He was basically saying, look, man, that's what they decided to do. Just that simple. And the last thing I would say here, I have never had a conversation with any of the guys in the office that told me they can't do something. Clint has literally told me we can make it do whatever we want it to do. But their answers and replies to me is always, man, in order to do that, we got to do this, do this, do this, do this, that. I mean, that could take like 3 years. Every answer. A lot of y'all not. If Smitty was still here, he would say the same thing. I have talked to Clint and Rex and all of these guys about stuff, and they literally say, yeah, man, but it ain't that easy, Sam. If to do that, we would actually have to change this and then change that, then put this together, then put that together, then build this system to make that work. And it might be like 3-4 years. But I'm like, Lord, have mercy. Like, I will say this, and then I'm going to throw it to Sonny. There are things that I thought that was very simple to do, not that simple at all. Because one thing I could give Rex credit on, this team now, they don't believe in halfway doing something. They don't believe in that. Perfect example. Remember how long I've been talking about reach tackles? You guys have really been following me. I've been on that for 4 or 5 years now. It could have made a slight debut 3 years ago, but it wasn't to the point where they have it now. I'll give you another nugget real quick. The preference would have been to not have reach tackles until they can get jersey pulls. Hold that thought for a minute. Think about what I just said. That was the preference that I heard from developers a couple years ago. Well, man, to do that, wouldn't you want it to work where, we're accounting physics and, the torque and, the angle that he pulls the jersey? I was like, whoa, I'm just asking for a reach tackle. See, that they was way deeper than what I was thinking. But it would take an extremely long time to get that done. See what I'm saying? So I just wanted to give that example so you guys know that the ideas that these dudes have, man, is we're not telling them nothing new. I promise y'all that. It's all about, what the priority is, what the bosses give them time to do, and that's it. So we got to find a way to get at those guys instead of, always dealing with the dev level. You have any other comments on that, Sonny?
Yeah, I'll hit on one or two things there, because actually you made a good comment there at the end. So you talk about the reach tackle stuff, and that's a great example, because what people don't understand is all systems in something like this kind of lean on other pieces within the game. So you talked about, reaching out and grabbing the jersey and different things like that. Well, the problem is you start with an idea and there's a finished product, but in between there's multiple systems that have to be built, and there's multiple systems that have to be tested against each other. And what ends up happening is they've got to spend development resources over that 2 and 3 year period you're talking about, but the consumer doesn't see any return on that. So they're saying, well, we didn't get much this year. Well, they don't know, and they can't be told about the tech in the background that's getting built to do these things. So we talked about the commentary. That tech they're rolling out slowly. I am very confident that is leading towards a big rollout of a presentation that'll be used down the line, but they can't say that. And all you can do is kind of pick up on little nuggets in there. Clint said 2 years ago on the first interview I ever did with him, he said, if there's one area I really would like to see improved, I want to see special teams matter. I want to see guys being able to jump, block kicks, blah, blah, blah. They were already working on that, right? That was Clint's little way of saying that. Now, he knew it wasn't coming out the next year. It was 2 years out, but he knew that was coming, so he threw that out there. There's systems being worked on last year and this year for Madden 19 that people don't even know about yet. And they're going to say, oh, wow, they got that out in 1 year. Or they'll say, oh, that's all they did in 1 year. It builds on top of each other. And I don't expect people to appreciate the work that goes in to get from point A to point B, but you got to understand it's not point A to point B. It's really point A to point Z. And there were a lot of stops in between to get there. Now, to bounce off of one more thing with that, this kind of rolls into the Deuce Douglas thing. Everybody says, hey, just take what that guy did right there and just do that. Let me tell you right now, I talked to guys in Austin, right, at the actual CFM. If people don't know, CFM actually gets worked on in Austin, not down in Florida. Yeah. A lot of people don't even know that.
They don't know that.
And so
yeah,
I talked to guys there. I talked to them in EA, whatever. You know what's interesting about that? They like that, right? They think that stuff's great. And to be fair, they've got a lot of the same beliefs and ideas. They want that game. But when you were growing up, right, you had all these things, and you're like, man, here's my plan in life. I'm going to be this and do that and this. But actually accomplishing that and doing that are two different things, right? So you can lay out a plan, but somebody's got to deliver on that plan. And it's not going to be quick and it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to fight through it to get there. And I think, you know, people just don't want to sit around and wait for that. Again, this development team's only been in place for 5 years now. I think that's the deal.
And most people are not going to agree with me here, but this is the actual truth. We know we were told about the 3-year thing back in Madden 13. Madden 15 was the first game that allowed them to really start implementing their vision.
Right. So
you count from there.
You're roughly 3 years in on that. And what you have to understand is some of these systems, some of these big overarching changes can take 3 years. Rex said on my podcast, their development team, not even close to FIFA. He laughed. He said, if I had that kind of development team and budget, oh man. People don't understand. They say, well, FIFA does this and FIFA does that. If they were 25% as big as FIFA, that would probably be generous and talk about how big the development team differences are. So, you know, they're doing a good job with what they got. You talk about long shot and where long shot's place was. I'll tell you what, from a marketing standpoint, it's about customer acquisition and then turning them into repeat customers. How do you get new people in, new features? Long shot was that new feature. I tweeted about it. I have a cousin. He's in high school. His dad was watching by. His kid was playing long shot. He sat down and watched him play that whole mode. Sat there and watched it. Texts me and says, hey, did you hear anything about this long shot thing? This is really cool, right? That's what they're trying to do. It's about acquisition. You make them lifelong customers. You get them in with things like that. That's how you turn it. So Rex, he wants to be a sim football player. He wants what we want, but they still got to pay the bills. And things like long shot are how they're going to pay the bills. It's a complex business, and people want to boil it down to just they want football, but man, this is the real world, and they got real world problems.
It's so many things that y'all can take from what was just said. We don't have to agree with it, which I did. You know, when it happened, again, I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to be respectful, but one of the guys that was in an executive position was like, hey, Sim, tell me the truth. What do you think? And I told them, I said, listen, idea is great, but I don't like your timing. And believe it or not, he kind of was like, okay, I see. He understood what I meant. I said, this is what's going to happen. Hardcore CFM people like myself and Shop and NBL. I mean, I named numerous people just to make sure they know it's a lot of us who are hardcore CFM players. We're looking at that as, what about just the normal functionality? What about like head coach 09 stuff and restructuring contracts? What about a 90-man roster? What about, this is one of my, this is a little small thing, but I want to have to activate the 46-man roster every week. Wouldn't that throw some immersion into there where you got to really look at your matchup? Might sound small, but imagine if you really had to do that and the gameplay was on point. See what I'm saying? Like little itty-bitty stuff like that. I'm like, what about that? Then I said, well, what about if I'm a 2K head, right? Where's my career? I was like, everybody is going to look at that and be like, y'all wasted all that time on that. However, I said exactly what Sonny just said. I said, well, I'm going to be honest. I can't lie. After seeing they presented the story to me, partly early on in the year, and I was like, I'm pissed off right now. He was like, why? I said, because it's going to work. I know what y'all doing, and it's going to work. It just doesn't work for me. And that's the harsh reality of it. There's still a business. I mean, it sucks that it's our football game. It's the only one that we have, and we have to wait. And I think that's the biggest part of this. And I think all of us here on this panel can agree. The fact that it seems like we're always waiting for Madden sucks. But what equally sucks is when you're in a position that I'm in, or like Sonny, obviously, you guys can tell now he has communication with these guys. He, interviews them. It sucks when we know the business side and we know the future. It's like I told you guys, I feel like a dad. And Rex actually told me that one day. He's like, yeah, you're pretty much an extension of it because I already know what's a good amount of what they're going for in 19. I even know some stuff that probably will come in 20. And I'm sitting here and I gotta enjoy what I get. Like, so let me say that real quick, and then I'm gonna bounce to the next topic real quick. Do y'all know how hard it is for me to give feedback? Hence the reason why sometimes you don't see as many videos from me anymore on YouTube. Because let me tell you what happens. Sometimes when I make these videos, it's for y'all. Because then I'll hit up one of the devs and they'd be like, man, you already know that ain't going. Or they'll say, oh, well, you know that's. And I'm like, I know. You know how hard it is for me to give feedback on something that I know is probably coming, like that I know for certain I'm going to see the next year or the year after. It makes it tough for me. That's why I keep saying, why do some people get so hung up on, oh, he ain't making video. I'm in the building. That's stupid for me to, it's really stupid for me to do that when I know. And I keep telling y'all, even things like coverage. Don't I keep trying to let y'all know, listen, when A-Dub puts his plan in, be ready. Be ready for interception after interception after interception. When you ain't understanding why the leverage is working that way or the technique, be ready. You claim you want it, be ready. You know, people like NYQ is going to beat the brakes off y'all when that stuff get in the game because he knows this stuff. I'm just saying, be ready for the football stuff that y'all think y'all want that will be coming to this game. But it's interesting, man. And I'm so glad we got you on the show tonight too, Sonny, because it's always great to have a different perspective, you know, because what I don't want this show to end up being, and I feel it sometimes even being in the show, I don't want people to get lost in the fact that, oh, that's just Sim saying that, or that's just Smitty saying that, because that's what nah. That's why I want this panel to always be open so we can get everybody's opinion, and then we can have actual dialogue, and then it all starts to make sense. But let's move to this next topic, guys. It's probably going to take us through 10 o'clock, so this could be the last topic of the night, but it's an interesting one. NY said this should be a topic tonight, and I think it's going to fit right along with kind of what we've been talking about. Why is it that, particularly with Madden, why is it so important to play on all Madden? I never understand that. And let me give a few pieces of information here before I throw it to devs. The devs have said to me numerous times, the best balance is at all pro. That's the best balance, ratings-wise, et cetera, et cetera. Play on all pro. There's many developers that don't play on all Madden. That's number two. We all have understood, and even my crazy self banging my head up against the wall numerous times, still trying to dissect all Madden and find the right sliders, even knowing this information. All Madden is designed to give the computer a boost and basically nullifies some of the user ratings. It boosts the ratings of the CPU. It's not playing authentic football, so to speak, in terms of reaction times, et cetera, et cetera. So I've never understood what the need is to play on the highest difficulty levels. I understand we all want a challenge, and you've heard myself say this along with Smitty says this a lot. There needs to be an in-between level. And NYKia says this a lot as well. I like all Madden. Let me tell y'all why I try to play on it with sliders. It's because I like the play calling from all Madden. I generally like the AI on all Madden, but then those cheats just creep in a little too much. My biggest issues with all Madden, in case people wanted to know, use a pass rush. Forget about it, especially if you're using the lineman yourself. QBs, CPU QBs are like robo QBs out there. The worst is the best. And the best is, forget about it. They're not throwing an incompletion. I don't like that. The game should not translate difficulty that way. It should be the higher up you go, the more strategic you have to be to win a game. You know, to use a football analogy, because we're looking at football, it should be, hey, if you put it on all Madden, you better be ready to go against Bill Belichick. You know, you put it down on rookie. I'm not going to disrespect the coach, but let's just say you're playing the Cleveland Browns. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be that instead of cheats. because that to me is just crazy. But I just don't understand the need that people. I mean, it's like a chest pumping situation. Like, oh, no, you ain't playing on All Madden, you suck. And I'm like, no, I can't play an authentic brand of football like I really want to on All Madden. You know, and I'm not gonna say everybody, but the way I play the game, y'all see me in the streams. I try to play realistically. So I would have to literally try to like cheat the AI to get things. I don't enjoy that. I don't need to beat Madden that bad. And last point I would say is this. Here's the problem though. Again, with the community feedback, with Clint's poll today. Some people only play online, only play in an online CFM, or they only just play head-to-head. Other people are giving feedback based on CPU versus user. Because I saw a ton of people say, hey, well, we play in All Madden on 32-man league, and we have a good time. The game plays differently, man, whether you're playing when you're playing a user than it does when you're playing a CPU. So that's the standpoint I'm coming from, is if I'm playing offline in an offline franchise, obviously it's not going to be the same online, but still, things like pass rush is still negated. But I just don't feel the need, though. So what's your thoughts on that, Des, man? What is it just like you? I think you kind of mentioned it earlier. Is it just one of those, I beat the best level situations, or what are people trying to achieve by having to, must play on All Madden?
One thing it hit me too as you were talking, like we've also gotten away a lot of times from, on the same couch, shoulder to shoulder, same screen gaming. And I remember, and like you would want to put All Madden on for the kicking difficulty and things like that. But when you're playing against somebody online, I don't really think it makes much of a difference. And one thing I have always thought, and I have nothing to prove this, but I've always thought in head-to-head games against users that your AI, like your team, was a little bit better than they were when you played it on All Pro. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of like making tackles and just, coming with the right pursuit angles and things like that. And that's a problem with All Madden for me, because, I play mostly just in the one-on-one league and a little bit of a mud squad so far this year. And, All Madden is it's not fun to me, like you said, because you just end up calling the same 3 plays over and over again because they work. And I feel like it just stunts my growth. But when I'm playing on All Pro, anybody who's on friends with me on PlayStation, I'll be like, dang, Desmond put up 85 points. And but it's like I'm really trying things out the whole time, just getting ready for the Super Bowl, which I won last night, where you had me, you ain't do nothing. But anyway, we ended up having, we ended up in 17 going to All Madden towards the end when we just had basically mastered the game. You know what I mean? And it was cool. It was competitive at first, but then season after season, it's just like, all right, yo, like my team is so much nicer than y'all's computer team right now. Y'all got this little 65 overall quarterback that, like you said, is two incompletions, and both of them was tipped at the line of scrimmage, or not. Matter of fact, they was both throw out of sacks. They wasn't even real incompletions. They was throw out of sacks, and like you said, you get no pass. So for me, my experience against the computer in recent years has been up and down. I feel like either 16 or 17 All Pro was, I can't remember, at the very beginning of one of those 2 games, All Pro was vicious. Like the computer was giving you a game on All Pro, whatever. It was 16.
It might have been 16.
It was 16.
Yeah, that was 16.
Yeah. Because I remember in my CFM, because it was the year that the Ravens played the Broncos week 1 and Suggs towards Achilles week 1. That was 2 seasons ago. And I remember seeing playing that first game and the computer beat me, yo. And I was like, yo, I hadn't lost to the computer in years. And they actually beat me. And then over time, it's just like, nah, man, when they put the mechanics in the game, it's like the things that made the game good for me, for somebody who understands like how, what I can. Let me take this back real quick before I pass it off, because one thing that I wish everybody had whenever they talked about Madden was I wish they had a little icon next to their name like Call of Duty or something, where you would see You know what I mean? Whatever rank you are, I would need that to correlate to how much of skills training that you've actually completed. Because the problem that I have with all these people that complain, I will say it every single time I come on these airwaves. How much of skills training have you completed? And I can guarantee you, in at least 3/4 of the mean tweets that the devs get when the game first comes out, talking about how it's too much or sucks or why is this guy doing that? Just like Sonny said, people calling cover 4, people calling cover 2 because it's supposed to be a deep defense. It's like, okay, go ahead, please call cover 2 against me all game if you think I'm ready to go deep against you. Like, go, please, please, if that's how you want to stop me from going deep, please, by all means, do that. You know what I mean? That's what you should do. And then when you get mad, and I said this to Clint several times, yo, I want the dev team to be able to make the game that they can stand on from day one.
Yes.
And when somebody sends them a clip and they put the post play coach art or whatever it is, whatever you call it, the post play where you see the previous play.
Oh yeah.
And they tell them, hey, I sent my I set my slot on a 9 bong, whatever you say you did. I slid my line left, and this is what happened. When I've done that and sent that over to Clinton Rex, they'd be like, boom, affirmative, got you. You know what I mean? Appreciate it. And it's like, if you're not putting yourself in a position to stop something, the game's not broken. If you're not understanding that you have to concede something in theory every single play, the game's not broken. You broken.
That's real football. Look at it tonight. The flats, they're leaving the
you broken.
Protecting the goal line right now as we speak.
There's something's gonna have to give. Unless your defense is Dallas Carter's defense. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, that was for me. Unless your defense is on that level where everybody out on the field is, unless you got 0-3 Miami out there, you know what I mean? Like, you're not about to just line up and stop people. And if I'm playing against you, like, I'm gonna make you force me out of my base. But at the end of the day, it's like, I know what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? But why am I going to show you that until you deserve that needs to be shown to you? And if you just want to go from coach suggestion plays, you don't want to go through the full entire skills trainer with the exception of the tackle battle drills or whatever that's broken this year. Finish all the skills trainer. You can get MUT cards for it. But finish skills trainer and daggone come back and talk about what you do and don't understand about the game. You have to treat yourself like a rookie when you're throwing the ball in this game, Just treat yourself like a rookie. Only look at half the field. You know what I mean? Like, help yourself. Especially if you saw coverage got tuned up. Help yourself, yo. That's all I can say.
Absolutely. 205. What you got, man? What are your thoughts on having to play on all Madden? And not just Madden, because we see it in 2K on Hall of Fame. And I mean, and they give me crap for it in streams. Oh man, you only playing on All-Star, Superstar. I'm like, well, why does it matter? So what is that urge? Like, what is that need that we must fulfill that it has to be the highest level, knowing that the game is cheating?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
See, this is my thing, and we had the last video with Zulu and 7, and Zulu told me something on that video. It said, we need an esports mode, esports level. Y'all can have rookie, pro, all pro, Madden, but we need esports level. For people like us who want to play the game straight up and have all the penalties and everything like that, we don't need so much cheating. I've never really understood the whole Madden versus all pro thing, because all pro was balanced. Even Rex has said it numerous times. Clint said it. Y'all said it. All Madden is a cheating rubber bandish you get in 2K. And I want an esports level to where we're playing the game as a simulation of what we see on Sunday. And if you don't play on that level, then, you're not football head. I just think that we should have those type of things. I think we should have more choices. I don't understand the sliders in Madden and all this. I don't get it because we've had CFMs that literally had to restart because of all Madden. And I don't know, but it's like when you play user to user online, things get taken away compared to how they are with all pro. I don't know, but like in all Madden, it feels like it's even more laggy sometimes. The the kick meter does some wonky crap. Everything just seems weird, and I've noticed like even this year, like when we play offline compared to online, it's always a difference, but it's even seems to be more that way now. Um, Last year we was literally having people quit playing online, trying to reboot the game backwards to get back to the way things were. And
Yeah.
we really just need to have a balanced out form of football where we have all the penalties, where we have everything. And you know, I also wanted to talk about this. I don't feel like we've been separated in tiers the way we thought we was going to be because there's really not a sim mode. You have to put it in CFM. You can't go online and turn on sim mode. It's just so many
Mhm.
things that we would love to have this game, and
Yeah.
also as a community, we haven't come together as community voices on YouTube with videos and certain things and become one voice yet to get these things the way we need to. Honestly, have to join together to do the things we want. Um, we can't have so much inner fighting; it doesn't work. And all these people that talks about I'm so great on all Madden and you suck if you don't. That is childish stuff. And Sam, I wanted to say this to you last week, and I don't want to be, you know, sound like, but like when you have people in your comment sections when you're doing, you know, the hangout on YouTube, I really just wish you would block them and move on because like it takes away from people like us, like Dez and me and NYKia and Neff and all these people that want to hear what y'all have to say because y'all sometimes will be spending like 30 to 40 minutes trying to delegate to these dudes and they're not ever going to change, man. They've never changed. They haven't changed for years. And I love y'all, and that's why I want y'all to succeed, and that's why I want us all to succeed. The hate and all this other stupidity between everybody has to go. And if you're not with us, then bye. Be on your way, dude. I'll let you have it, man.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. That's why you haven't seen quite a bit of these guys because just not going to do it. And just to comment on that real quick before I throw it to Sonny, everybody is not going to be on the same page. It's just not going to happen. Like it's some people in that once was in this community together. I'll tell y'all right now, it's just some people I'm not going to deal with. I don't need to try to rehash and rekindle. Do what you're doing. I'm doing what I'm doing. And like my man just said, that's how it's going to be going forward. If we ain't in here trying to have dialogue and being positive, no need to have you here. Because, again, you saw what happened just last week. We invited old boy, your man Harbaugh on the show, and he's supposed to be coming, and he doesn't come. He decides, it would be better if we do it on Skype, and I have someone with me. And I'm like, no, let's do it live. So, but you're absolutely right. I'm not going to waste time on that type of stuff no more. I'm just going to block them, get them on out of here. And again, I don't want anybody to get
Sim, can I ask you a quick question, bro?
Yeah, go ahead.
When you get the community together, when you reunite everybody, can you call it the SimPosium?
I like what you did there. Yeah, man. Y'all know what it is, man. It's just some people I just listen. I don't need that. I ain't trying to be funny or nothing, but nah, we're not gonna do that now. We just don't do that. I move the way I move. Y'all move the way y'all move. And if y'all with us, you with us. That's just that simple. But, man, as we wrap this thing up, let's get Sonny's take, man. And actually, before you even come on, I know you guys play a deep franchise. You know, we all love watching it. I don't know why it's not bigger. I mean, it's a great experience to watch, and the post games and all that stuff. But I know it's different playing against a user. So first, I will ask: are you playing on All Madden in the user league, or have you experienced the difference between All Madden and All Pro offline? And why do you think people feel the need to play on All Madden?
Well, like you said, so MBL, since we've been around from the start, it's been All Madden stock sliders. And kind of the theory behind that, there's a couple things to that. So the first being, one, we have a wide range of tier of player, right? So we have really, really good players, and we have guys that, and they know I love them, but they're just bad. And so the problem is we try to cater to one group, whether it's the bad or the good guys. Somebody always feels dejected. So what we tried to do was create a community that it was more than just winning. It was more about the experience. And so that way everybody had something. Right. But when it came down to, what the setting is, we went with All Madden. And the reason being is, you can say the CPU cheats, but it cheats for everybody, right? So everybody's still playing on the same level playing field. But what that lets happen is, the guys that aren't very good, they know where the bar is, right? So they start practicing and start learning at All Madden. And they're going to work their way up as they go. The guys that are really good, they get a little bit more of a challenge there. You guys say the CPU cheats. Well, some of those guys that may not be very good, that CPU will help them out sometimes. And that makes the games a little more interesting. Sometimes we see games where really good guys lose to really bad guys. And frankly, you can say, well, Madden took over. But it helps create some of the randomness. Because when you have 32 guys, the odds are there's that wide spectrum. And you don't want the same guys to get blown out every season. You don't want the same guys to win every season. And so in reality, the same guys normally make the playoffs. We'll get a couple changes here or there, but the best guys are going to overcome that. They're going to still be the best guys because they can read defenses. I read something kind of interesting today about Peyton Manning. It was an interview Marshall Faulk was talking about when he first got there, Peyton Manning's rookie season, and he threw an interception, and he looks at Marshall Faulk, and Marshall Faulk says, hey, Peyton, it's the NFL, man. Cornerbacks close quick. And people keep talking about, okay, well, All Madden, those cornerbacks are so fast, they get into the zones, blah, blah, blah. Hey, you know what? The more you get used to it, you start anticipating that stuff, and you'll start getting used to that stuff. Yeah. But you just have to accept that that's what you've chosen to play on. And once you've accepted that and you start labbing under that idea, it's fine. It's not for everybody. I get that. There's some people that just don't like certain aspects of it. But I don't think for us, it's not like a badge of honor. It's not like something we choose because we think it makes us tough. I think for us, it gives us here's where the bar's set. Guys that are really good, you get some competition from some CPU help. Guys that aren't, now you know what to strive for. I will say, to Stock's point, one of the biggest issues I have with this year's game that no one has really brought up, I've tried to bring it up multiple times to developers. Why can't I play a friendly online head-to-head game in sim mode? How was I supposed to get ready for our season that, a couple weeks before we started? How was I supposed to get ready when I had to play head-to-head? Because the game plays different. For everybody talk about, the difference between them, play 10 games on competitive, then go play 10 games on sim, and you will see a huge difference. And, I think that's something we need to see in this release. I'd like to see that part of the continuous development cycle because I'd love to grab somebody from my league and lab outside of the league, throw it on sim, All Madden, our settings, stock sliders, and just mess around with some stuff. But right now you can't do that. And in practice mode, you're playing the CPU, which isn't a user. So that's not the same feel. So that's what I think we need. And I think that may help a lot of people with All Madden is if they can really recreate that experience away from their CFMs.
And see, it's very interesting watching you guys because y'all have stats. Y'all have guys that got tons of sacks. And I'm like, see, it doesn't play the same. It's almost like the game realizes, okay, it is CPU and you're not controlling the guy, but that's user to user. It totally plays different because, even shout outs to my guy, Kurt at Sports Gamers Online, even at EA Play. You know, when we play head-to-head games, we throw it on all Madden. That's what we all do, even when we down in Orlando. But it's not the same for those of us who, because, you know, me personally, y'all know I play in the Sim Standard League, but then I always have a offline CFM, you know, for YouTube purposes, et cetera, et cetera. And that's where the biggest issue is with me, is I'm trying to get that challenge, but oh my God, pass rush and stuff is just stonewalled, ain't even the word. And the robo quarterbacks. But like you said, man, I've watched several of you guys broadcast, and I'm like, oh, I like how the way the game is playing out. And that's why I kind of, you know, mentioned to Clint offline too, is like, I like that poll, but I'm like, it really is, that's a tough one, because the experience is different when it's user to user on all Madden versus user and CPU on all Madden. And you're getting all these people giving their input. I mean, I'm telling y'all, go to Clint's tweet and look at that post and look at all of the replies and some of the stuff people were saying. I was like, what? But I'll say this too. Sonny brought it up. People want to know what EA Play build was like this year. Madden 18 on All Pro was very similar to what people are complaining about on All Madden right now. And I loved it. I had to read the defense and anticipate my throw. That was one of the biggest things I told to Rex. I said, yo, I love the fact that I have to anticipate the throw, the slant before he gets there. I can't hold it. I held it too long. They was jumping it. And I was loving it. That's football. Just like the Marshall Faulk story. When you look at football for the most part, I know a lot of us think our teams blow coverage, and sometimes they do. But when you really look at completions in the NFL, guys ain't that far away. They right there. The best quarterbacks, they throw the ball where they think the guy's going to be, because it ain't no whole lot of hold it, then throw it, because an NFL DB, even a subpar guy, can make a jump on the ball really quick. That's how the game felt on All Pro. It was phenomenal. And just the way they were playing the zones in general, not just making the play, but their drops. And that's a different story for another day. But I don't know, man. It's a tough situation. But like Sonny said, you know, they enjoy it. And I love that explanation because, you know, obviously, and I already knew this about you guys. It's like you guys are not putting it on all Madden just because, oh, we play on the best level. That makes sense in a 32-man league. But I think the question, you know, coming from NYKia was really like, people who play against the CPU, why do they beat themselves in the head so much trying to figure out, oh, Madden, it's designed to cheat. It's that's what it's there for. Ratings.
Yeah, you remember on NBA Jam, son, when you used to have an option to turn off CPU assistance?
Oh yeah.
That's all Madden.
Yep. There you go.
Hey, Sim, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, man.
Sim, you know, we're talking about this, everything, especially with the cornerback play and everything. I don't really see people using the target passing or the passing mechanic. My biggest issue is I hope Rex and them do not get rid of it, because but I don't like that little red cursor thing. I don't need to be showed where the defender is. Just give me my white cursor or whatever color it's going to be, and just be that one out there, because I can tell what the defender is. My biggest thing that I wanted to say is, Rex, Clint, using it, because if AW gets these zones in here the way they're supposed to be, we're going to have to read windows. We're going to have to be. This is the thing that's going to take the game to the next level to make it simulation. And yeah, you may lose some people. Today we can't keep undercutting things that is truly football. It's not glitchy. It's only glitchy to the people that don't know what they're talking about. You can't have super run up and catch the ball. It doesn't work. Target passing don't work that way. And it takes a lot of time to get it down. Even when you think you got it down, there's still things to learn. High, low pass. Where to place do I need to place the ball over here to the sideline? Can I get it through this window? Okay, is there a double defender here? Okay, certain things is always going to change the aspect of the target passing. And now to the point that I'm trying to literally learn how to move my primary receiver while I'm already snapped the ball. Okay, if this guy's took, I need to move over here to either square, triangle, or one, whatever. Don't be afraid to check down. And people say, well, I don't have control over my quarterback. Let go of L2 and hit R2 and take off running if you got to. You have full control. I'm tired of the excuses. You have to go into the lab and learn these things. I'm not perfect at it. I'll be perfectly honest. I've thrown tons of picks, but I've thrown beautiful touchdowns in the back of the end zone. I've thrown sideline catches that I would have never got if I just hit X or square or whatever. So much more, and that's just all I want to say about that. I'm sorry that I interrupted.
Wait until y'all. How can I phrase this without?
Don't.
And I wish y'all would have been able to see what the passing mechanic was going to be. And I can't say nothing because I think it might still show up one day. Y'all ain't ready for it. That's all I'm gonna say. It's wow, crazy. But yeah, man. Let me be quiet before I get myself in trouble. We'll go ahead and let's close the show out on this note. I'll throw it to Dez and to Stack and to Verts, and you can give your close out, but address this real quick because we do have it in the title. Final thoughts of the night. What are your thoughts as a whole with the whole Cam Newton situation? As far as what he said and how he's being looked at now. What are your thoughts on that, Dez?
What you doing, yo? One thing I think Cam is going through something right now. I don't know that man personally, but between the fashion and the hair, and I don't know if it was the car accident. I don't know if he came back too fast or something. I don't know what happened. But Cam is wilding a little bit, and Cam, Cam is not hot right now. You know what I mean? Like Cam fell off last year because he just got abused all season, and physically because he had no line. I don't understand why they have so much media availability mandatory for these players. But I just was up. I was watching the press conference. I'm like, this is a dude who's just not trying to hear it today. Period. And part of me is just, I'm not at all in the camp of, oh, they're getting paid so much money. I'm not in that camp on any level, just because of how much money the actual owners themselves make and the league itself makes, and how little money the people who work in the stadium make. And that's just a whole nother conversation. But my whole point is Cam, you got to think about it like this one. Anybody, and you're a perfect example, Stack, both of y'all perfect examples. Y'all put content out. And most of y'all content is not extemporaneous. You guys have a chance to sit there and discuss, and you keep it on you guys' terms what message you're going to put out there. And I just, that these guys have been doing press conferences for so long, this and that. And listen, when I say, what are you doing to Cam, it's because I don't even understand why you would fix your mouth to say that on camera. But when they try to articulate themselves when it comes to serious, legitimate issues, all they do is get shouted down and told to be, back in the huddle, line up for the next play. Nobody trying to hear none of that. So if their opinion matters so little about one of the most divisive issues in our day, why do you care so much what this man said to this reporter when he still answered the question? So I'm just having a problem right now with the NFL, period. And one of the biggest reasons why Madden might go in timeout is because it's just a casualty of how I feel about the league, period. And a lot of the viewership and the folks who participate in the league not feeling it right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just like, man, let's not get it twisted. These athletes, they got 3 or 4 years, maybe. They're gonna make $2 or $3 million, maybe. But the average American is probably gonna make $10 million in his life. But that's spread out over 40, 50 years of working. So ask yourself this question. You know, are you sitting there in a position where you know you would keep yourself cool, calm, and collected, call it 50 times a year with all those cameras in your face, knowing that whatever you say, good, bad, or indifferent, is going to be tweeted out, it's going to have all these eyes on it. And after you tried to be serious and everybody says, shut up and get back in the huddle, you think that you're going to have time for anything that somebody's asking you about football? Especially, and we understand what he said, but with those undertones, and then especially when she gets exposed after the fact, it's like, man, I can understand why an NFL player on today is just like, man, forget all of that, man. Forget all of this, man. This is how I feel right now. Cut me. Start Derek Anderson. I dare you. That's the behavior at that moment. That was his face at that moment. Say something, face.
It really was.
So that's just how I saw it. You know what I mean? And that's how I'm seeing all of this right now. And I, you know, like I said, I'm just not feeling this machine right now. It's just not that entertaining to me that I can't that I have to keep supporting this, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. But let me go ahead and kick it back off before I go crazy.
Yeah, man. Y'all see me doing all of these reactions here. You know, y'all know I'm a heavy nose fan, so obviously I root for Jameis. He's just missing so many throws, man. That's come on, Jameis. That's the touchdown.
And his crab legs.
Yeah,
and his pregame crab legs.
Yeah, I can't forget about that. 205, man. What are your thoughts on the Cam Newton situation, what he said, and how everybody is reacting to it? You're on mute. I can't hear you. Unmute.
Man, Mr. Stack telling them, you better get off that phone, boy.
Still can't hear you. You're unmuted, but we don't hear nothing.
I can't hear you, Stack.
No, dude.
I got you. Sim said he can't hear you.
No, I can't hear. I can hear Dez. I heard Sonny.
I got you. I don't know. Sonny, you got us?
I can't hear him either.
Well, until he arrives, Sonny, what's your take on it?
I got you, Steph.
So again, you know, I mentioned earlier, I work in some marketing. I do some public relations type stuff. So I kind of get that, understand some of the stuff going on there. What I will say about that is very simple. One word was literally the only thing that threw him off there. And I can't remember if it was female or woman, but had he simply said, "Ha, I think it's funny reporters are talking about running routes," he would have been fine, right? Because the reality is none of the reporters know anything about football 90% of the time, right? So she was probably just as informed as any of the guy reporters too, because it goes back to the whole idea that, you know, people report on stuff they really don't know. So had he just simply said, "I think it's funny a reporter's talking to me about running routes. What do you know?" Right? But because he made it a thing about a female versus a male, that's where he screws up. And when you start doing, you know, media training, there's a reason they kind of give them cards, note cards, kind of these are the bullet points that, you know, you always fall back to, right? So he did that. He went right to that after, you know, he made his comment. And that's the only disappointing part. And you know, like you said, maybe there's something going on there, right? Maybe he's just having a bad day, whatever it is. Honestly, I think it gets blown up a little bit, but he brings it on himself with the one word. He just leaves that one word out. There you go. He's got to be smarter than that. If it wasn't a quarterback, it probably wouldn't even have been that big of a deal. Because he's a quarterback, he's the face of the team. You know, it becomes a bigger deal than it is. You know, I don't think he's a bad guy for saying it. I think he let something slip that he probably would say to his buddies that he should have known better. But in the end, you know, you got to be smarter than that.
Pretty much. 205. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I got you, Stack. I don't know why some can't hear you.
We don't have them. Well, I'll give my thoughts. Smitty's
Sim,
gonna.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear Smitty. So
we all hear Stat.
No, I can't. And Sonny couldn't hear him either.
Yeah, I can't hear him.
Really?
Oh, I can hear all of y'all.
Yeah, that's weird. So what I'll do, man, I'll give my quick thoughts, and if Stack comes back in and I can hear him, then we'll let him give his. But if not, we'll let Smitty close it out. Sonny hit it right on the head, man. It disappointed me because I was like, a couple things. Cam know the light is always on him, and like Dad said, you're gonna slip from time to time. But when you have had things taken out of perspective on you personally, Cam Newton, you can't have no mistakes. Like, you have to know, all right, I gotta chill. That's number one. But if you do make the mistake, you gotta be able to reel it back in. You know what I would have said if I would have done that? It would have gone something like pretty much like this. A female talking to me about routes. You know what? That's actually impressive, man. Women, like, I would have played off of it. I would have said something like, wow, like, you know what I mean? You should have said something like that when you realize, all right, this ain't gonna go well. Let me clean it up. He could have said that. He didn't. In the smile and the laugh just made it seem like he was trying to undermine her. However, I didn't take it like that. I took it as him saying what I just said. As, wow, a female asking you about running routes. Nothing malicious. I didn't take it malicious. I didn't take it as he was trying to undermine her, but it came across that way. So what I'm saying is he should have recognized that and been like, all right, that ain't sound right. Hold on, let me clean this up. And at least throw her a bone or something saying, wow, that's impressive. Usually female reporters don't ask like something. He just left it there. Like, that was disappointing. But yeah, and let me speak on this before I throw it to Stack and Smitty. I don't like this whole, just in general, man, in America right now, this whole, everything is so touchy. Like, come on, Dannon, you drop him that quick. Yeah, like, if that's all it took for you to drop his sponsorship, to me, that's whack.
So how many grown men buy Dannon Greek yogurt, man? They had to do that, man. How many grown men walk up with sugar-free yogurt in the morning and sit next to you at work? What? What?
Yeah, I know.
Cam gone, bro.
I know that side of it. I know. I'm just saying, like, come on, man. Like, give him an opportunity to, you know what I'm saying? Look, even EA didn't drop Tiger Woods after his debacle. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, that's a little worse than him having a slip of the tongue. But Cam should have came back and apologized. To my knowledge, he hadn't done that yet. So maybe that led to the whole Danny thing being like, nah, we backing out of this one. We got to wash our hands. I get it. But I just feel like, dang, like, you ain't gonna give the man a chance to, I don't know. I just thought it was a little quick. That's all I'm saying. Danny had to do that. I just think it was a little quick. Like, that was real fast. That was like, you know what I'm saying? But it's what
they
it
win
is.
with their audience, man.
Yeah.
They win with their consumers with that. Look, we got that misogynist pig out of there.
Yeah. Because they probably was hitting them up like, what y'all gonna do? What y'all gonna do? Did y'all hear what this guy said? He's the face of the company. So.
I'm never eating another spoonful of this yogurt in my life.
Yeah. But Stack, man, I think I can hear you now, man. What are your thoughts on the Cam Newton thing? Then we'll go to Smitty and then we out of here.
Y'all can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I really didn't hear what Cam said until I got home. Honestly, it was sarcastic. I mean, he said it in a sarcastic way that I don't even think the reporter actually took it as everybody else did. The lady reporter seemed to kind of giggle about it, like, if you listen to the comment. Funny, like everybody in the room was kind of doing a little, kind of a little funny, little giggle, laugh, whatever. And then somebody goes off and loses their mind. I mean, everything somebody says can be taken the wrong way. I mean, have made those type of mistakes, or I really wouldn't even call them mistakes. We just made those type of comments, and then someone else sees it as way more than it needs to be. How many times has me and Sim been on Twitter and literally messed with each other? And I'm sure that if you didn't know Sim, you would think that it was a big deal. And I know, wow, we've had that kind of discussions on Facebook, and people would literally be, oh, they're fighting. Come on, man. Some of this stuff is ridiculous that we're going through in this country. Like, we really have that soft of feelings now? Like, what is going on?
About certain
like
things.
Everything is so soft. And I mean, a man can't be a man anymore. Just to be honest with you. It's all one way. And I really don't want to even get into the whole thing to where we could really go with this whole genders and all this other stuff that just, I mean, but really we need to have some type of common sense, and I don't think that in our world these days in America we have much of that. I'll go ahead and let y'all have it.
Yeah, I'll throw it to Smitty, man. And as Smitty is unmuting, I will say this. You know, y'all know me. I'm going to say it. It seems like only certain things get attention, which is crazy. It's way more stuff to talk about. But like Dad said, you know, we'll save that for another time. But distractions, man. keep the third and fourth eye open. These distractions in America today is unreal. Smitty, what's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'll just say this real quick. You know, I didn't hear everything else going on with the show, so I missed it. I apologize for dropping out. But as you can hear, my voice is even scratchier now than it was before. But I'll say this. Cam, what he did was no big deal. The problem is that, look at this day and age. If Cam said that in the year 2000, it would have been nothing. Maybe if he was caught on video camera there, he may have made it Sports Center top 10 in interviews or bad interview responses or something like that. Maybe he would. Then that would have been the end of it. But because there's so much access and excess, now it's this big old drawn out situation. And I mean, for him to lose a sponsorship over it, look, I don't care if it's Dannon, I don't care if it's Band-Aids, I don't care if it's whatever the heck it is, if it's stamps, you know what I'm saying, for mail. He got sponsored by U.S. Postal Service. So the heck it be it. But the bottom line is that, excuse me, if you're going to find that as a reason, excuse me, if that's a valid reason for you to drop somebody, that's ridiculous. It's like they wanted to do it. Let's publicly punish him. We got to make an example. Drop his sponsorship. Now, I bet you let Cam ball out, which more than likely won't happen necessarily, but I'm saying let Cam ball out. They'll be back. Nike came back to Kobe. Kobe had his own shoe, remember? He got dropped by Nike after what happened in Colorado out there in Eagle. And then Nike came right back like 2 years later or something like that because it was undeniable. It was like, yo, this dude's balling, man. We got to hook him up. And he got his own shoe and all that good stuff. They got him even more stuff because of it. So it's no big deal, man. And like you said, Sim, it's just it's a white wall. You just throwing this wall in front of it and say, oh, you know what? Let's skip what just happened a few days ago in Vegas. Let's throw this in front of it and make a big old deal to get, you know, desensitize people's, you know, morality and focus on this because this is a hot topic to focus on right now. So let's get on this and let's hype that up and overpump it. So no, it's, you know, it's completely crazy to take something so subtle and like this was said on the radio here locally. You have men that are beating and cheating on wives and stuff like that. Nothing said. Nothing said. But then, or very little said, very little made about it. But then it's very funny how you see all this hubbub about Cam. Come on, son. You see what I'm saying? So
it's crazy. You know,
I'll end with that, man.
Especially when you got people out here blaming places for driving up the budget. I'm just saying.
Yo, you know what's crazy, yo? We just said Tiger and Kobe. I'm pretty sure that neither one of them committed a crime. when their situations jumped off. Like, I'm pretty sure Tiger was the victim of domestic violence when his situation jumped off.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when we see the level and the background of these athletes that have these precipitous falls from grace about no crime being committed. But there's the first two examples that we just jumped out where the girl lied on Kobe. Straight lied on Kobe. Kobe, the front page of Sports Illustrated with Kobe's mugshot will never be forgotten, yo.
Oh yeah.
Off a lie. Off a Emmett Till playbook lie.
Yo, the craziest thing about the Kobe thing that I will never forget, and I mean, I know this ain't the show for that, so I'll end it here with that. But
make it the show for that.
Yo, the chick, what kind of chick got multiple samples in one pair of panties, dog? That was crazy. Nobody talked about that.
Yeah.
That's my point. That's my whole point. These wretched
same pair of panties? Like, I'll leave it there. But great show, guys. We got plenty more. Well, you guys got plenty more to talk about because, you know, the topics tonight, I got to give a hats off to Dez, 205, and NY Kid. This is who we wanted to be. We appreciate Sonny coming on, man. And, you know, like I tell everybody who's come on, it's open invitation. He reached out to me saying, hey, man, you know, I'll come on. I'm not busy. That's what it's about. Multiple people in the community coming together and just having discussions. And I invite all of you guys in the chat. I do it every week. London Baker, my bad. That was you who hit me up. Somebody did hit me up on Twitter a few days ago, and I couldn't find the retweet or reply or whatever, where I was like, yo, I'll put you on if Havo doesn't make it. I couldn't find it. And I asked today too, and I still didn't get a reply. So I don't know who that was. But if you're hearing this, if you want to come on next week, if it was London, we'll have you next week or whoever else. Let's try to keep this going, man. The panel format, I think, is great because we get to hear from multiple people, not just Smitty and I every week. So we appreciate that. So that's going to do it for tonight's show, guys. I'm going to thank Dez, as always. I know he's always going to come through. Definitely thank 205. And Sonny, man, we definitely thank you coming through as well. Make sure, guys, you check out his podcast as often as you can. I mean, most of you guys should know his Twitter handle, which is @T4Verts. Y'all heard me refer to him many times. Check him out. Check him out and go support MBL. If I would have known, man, I didn't even think, Sonny. I would have wore the MBL shirt tonight, but last minute, I didn't even think about it. But make sure you support those guys because they do a great job showing off their league. So
go Lions.
There you have it, guys. I like that Steelers guy, though. He's been a beast several years. But yeah, man, that's going to do it. Appreciate everybody for coming through. We are out of here, and we'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Peace.